We know the recent big buzzword, the big attack, the Salesforce Salesloft attack. And the reason this was a very peculiar one, a different one, is because from the start to end, everything was AI related in this attack. So I thought that why don't we, as part of our learning series, which you guys know, we keep try to keep it every month, but this was a recent one. Why don't we do a series from our experts, and they give us a thought, their thoughts on how this attack has happened, what companies could have avoided, how this could have been avoided, and how exactly it has happened, so that we know what's happening. Uh, so we've got Pravin Kothari, who is founder of Pointguard AI. You know, Pravin is not a new face. I'm sure all of you know Pravin. Just to give, he was initial founder of Oxide. If you know, and, the but he is Pointguard has been our portfolio company for like 1.5 years now, almost, and we've been in a great partnership, done a lot of things together with Pointguard AI. The other person I have is Subbu Rama. Subbu is again a known face to everyone, founder of BalkanID. Balkan has recently been introduced as a portfolio company in Suraksha Catalyst, a great player in identity in AI space, or AI in identity space. I'll say AI in identity space to transform the IGA, the way IGA works using AI. So I think because this particular attack was kind of understanding on how it happened, and second, how we can avoid these identities and token which were involved in this. So I thought these two can be good experts to tell us how how this could have been avoided. So I'm handing over to both of them. Over to you, Praveen and Subbu. I'll be quiet now. Thanks. Praveen, do you want to take it?
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. This is Pravin Kothari, founder and CEO of Pointguard AI. I wanted to show you one picture of the attack here so that we all can understand what really happened. I can get started. So yeah, so this is the kind of, I just wanted to talk about what happened. This UNC 6395 is the Chinese state-related hacker group. They got into Salesloft GitHub repos in the early March of this year, and they were, it took 5 to 6 months for them to find out about all this. It is surprising. So the initial access was in March. They downloaded the code, they added some guest users, and also set up some workflows to maintain access there in part of their repos and the pipeline. So from there, they were reconning into their AWS environment, and looks like, so the other thing is that not a lot of details were disclosed by the company. They're still saying Mandiant is going through it, and their lawyers are protecting all the information. But definitely there's a lot of mess has happened here. They did not follow much of the security practices. You can see the GitHub was easy to get in. Then AWS, they got in after that. The AWS dripped in their AI chatbot. And from there, they are able to download the OAuth tokens for all their customers. They're supposed to say 100 plus customers, enterprise customers. And then after that, these tokens are like, you all know that, right? OAuth tokens. This one actually had admin privileges. That means they can get, and it's everything, right? So for example, one of the tokens may be from Zscaler, other is from Allianz, other is from Farmers Insurance. So those tokens actually give them full admin control over Allianz Salesforce account. So they can download like millions of records for that particular customers. So even though customer count is 700, but some of these customers can have records in millions. And in fact, I had a customer, one of the bank with more than 100 million records in Salesforce. So, this data is huge amount of data from these large enterprise customers. So Dripped AI chatbot, just to give you FY, just give you information what it does is they say it's a website chatbot. Will look at it, have engages with the visitors on the website for Farmer Insurance, for Allianz Insurance, and from Zscaler, right, on the website. They engage with you in natural language because they're using AI models, Gen AI models, to have good conversations. And their goal is to create a qualified opportunity for this customer, this visitor, and set up a meetings all automatically on the website. So it's a very powerful offering with the all the what's happening in the AI world today. People are building all these applications to show you very powerful use case in the process of going to market faster, or in the process of fear of missing out, or competing, leapfrogging the competitors. They are not taking care of the security and risk properly. In this case, very clear. So this drift AI chatbot did not have OAuth tokens encrypted, securely stored somewhere, right, in safe vault. They are just sitting there, right, in some easy to access place. How they downloaded this token for all their customers, they did not disclose it. They don't really disclose a lot of the misses they have done. They only disclose what was sent out. The lawyer would not allow them to disclose too many things for reputation perspective. But we know that, right? Things are pretty bad there. The AWS access was easy to get in, looks like. And then the downloading of this auth tokens were pretty easy to get out. And these tokens had admin rights, which is kind of in our security world, we live in the principle of least privilege. And for this AI chatbot to work, this company gave them admin access to Salesforce account. Salesforce, I'm mentioning it, but there were like multiple applications, like Slack was also there, Google Apps were there, even. So this SaaS to SaaS connections, right, set up in a way that now you can you impersonate a customer like Zscaler or Farmers Insurance, and get into Salesforce, get into Slack, and download everything. And they did download all the data they had from those accounts. So that's interesting. After that point, things are pretty clear, right? They went to all these accounts, Salesforce, Slack, Google, and access. This is what a statement from them. They access customer data in those SaaS cloud through Drift integration. So it's not very clear how the Drift integration worked, that hackers were able to get in this account, but OAuth token through Drift integration allowed them to do that. And after that point, things are very clear. There are a lot of customers, and every customer data got compromised. And the statement they made is that you can assume that every data there is got compromised because of the admin privilege. So this is what happened. And you can see that across the board, whether it's GitHub or it's the AWS or the AI chatbot, or whether it's even Salesforce side, right? There was not much monitoring was going on for those customers. And the customer did not see any problem. They did not have, anomaly detection. They did not have configuration properly, maybe. I don't know what happened. And the kind of data they downloaded, the hackers, they went after this, this is Chinese hacker, right? They want control. They want permanent access. So they went after those VPN keys, your, API tokens, API keys, and also OAuth tokens. And basically, they are preparing for more downstream attack for those millions of customers of these companies, right? So not only the farmers is exposed and all the names you see on the right side, but also their customers' information is also got compromised, right? This is a very significant supply chain attack coming from Salesloft into the Salesforce, from Salesforce getting into the Zscaler and Farmer Insurance and many other customers. So, and from their customers, right? It's like long chain here. So this is what happened. I just wanted to bring it up to you so that we all can have discussions on this. But Subbu, you want to add anything here?
You summarized it really well, Praveen, right? In my view, the primary entry of access, because it was that GitHub, access. This, this could have potentially been avoided with enforcing certain least privileges, or even sort of step-up authentication. So that could have potentially avoided, because if that would have been avoided, then you could have we could have basically avoided the whole thing. The second piece I see in this whole attack that was there is the data, basically first of all, putting these keys and secrets, etc., in GitHub, that was basically a big no-no, and the code download basically caused more access. So again, that plays a role of data security and how that basically ties into identity security. So in my view, the way I kind of look at it is, beyond, of course, the AI, the chatbot breach, but is a pure identity, access breach that kind of caused a lot of other downstream challenges. Because in every step of the way, if there were some sort of access governance or some sort of ITDR, or some sort of security posture management that was put in place, these things could have been avoided, in my view. But yeah, you summarized it really well, Pravin, giving the timeline of this.
Okay. So thanks.
So,
Ankur, go ahead.
Praveen, what do you think? Maybe next 5, 7 minutes we can spend on this question again for Praveen and Subbu both. Maybe Praveen can answer first and then followed by
Uh,
Subbu. What do you think companies today should have done with their limited resources, which every company is struggling today? Like, if you ask me, I'm struggling. Yes, everybody is struggling with some limited resources, limited budgets. What they could have done as a basic stuff to avoid these kind of attacks, so, or to avoid this to happen in their environment. Now today it's Salesforce, tomorrow it can be something else. So what you think we could have, as CISOs, we could have done better, uh, Praveen and Subbu?
Sure, good. I think you can see in the picture here, things have gone wrong in several places, right? Usually you have one weakest link, but there are multiple weak link here. The thing is that Salesloft has two AWS environment, and hackers were able to get into only the Drips AI chatbot side, right? They couldn't get into the main application where you have 5,000 customers or more. That also means that AI, in the race to launch your AI projects, people are cutting corners, right, in security. So that's one area of big problem in the market, is that a lot of AI applications out there are not properly secure, whether it's security configuration monitoring, posture management side, or it could be runtime protection side, and also it's good monitoring after the fact. So those three areas needs to be definitely has to put in place for any AI application. But this is more beyond AI as well, right? We use even the security posture management, DevSecOps side, on the GitHub side, DevSecOps side, there could be better control in place, right? And the biggest thing is that identity and that OAuth tokens in the Drift applications were not secure. And also what people found out later was that even Salesforce cases, all those support tickets with all the and customer keys and API keys and OAuth tokens, they were all sitting encrypted, not sitting insecure and not encrypted. So that is a major issue. So people are not really, even the big names, right? You see the names here are like large enterprise customers. They are not properly protecting their configuration and their data. Right? Just very clear from this breach at multiple places. So what you could have done, if I focus just on AI side, I feel that I'm coming from my background in Pointguard AI. We focus on security and compliance for the AI. I can see a lot of things has gone wrong here. We could have done better job at security posture management. For example, we can show you if there is a OAuth token that's not encrypted, right, and sitting there. So we can do security posture management around the Drift AI chatbot or in the entire environment of AWS. Second thing we could have been done is that there's something called testing of application that shows that there's no vulnerability in this application in terms of prompt injection attack, jailbreaking attempt, because so many new kinds of attacks are happening right now in AI chatbot. So those can be diagnosed much more earlier, right? Or identified much more earlier. And then the runtime, the statement they made is that they access customer data through Drift integration, right? So if you look at that Drift integration, I think maybe they could have done better job of protecting those conversations with the customer or with the attacker coming in and putting some kind of a block for prompt identification, detection of um, prompt injection, followed by jailbreak and many other security vulnerabilities can be exploited here, right? In AI conversation. So that something could have been done better. And also, if everything else fails, you need to have that data leak prevention kind of thing that can stops any OR token from going out, any credit card information going out, any sensitive data going out. So those kind of things where Pointguard AI really excels in those kind of AI solutions. But if you look at the bigger picture, this is much bigger than AI, right? It's also just a DevSecOps side. The thing could have done better with the GitHub side and also on the Salesforce monitoring and also Slack monitoring can be done better here.
Thanks, Praveen. Subbu, what do you think are the best practices which we as practitioners could have followed to avoid these kind of attacks?
There are a few, a few things I would say. One is, the application risk visibility could have been kind of done better, right? Because customers authorize the Dift app to connect with Salesforce with likely broad OAuth scopes. So, for example, full read of case and contact objects in this case. So, I think, probably a better, me being from an identity, security, and governance access angle, there would have been a better way to detect these high-risk integrations and put more scrutiny in terms of the scopes that were given. Maybe they could have been actually flagged as more risky, and maybe could have actually done more continuous monitoring and reviews of those integrations, which could have avoided the more broader scopes that were given. The second thing you can think of is the least privilege, enforcement that I believe was kind of missing, because the Drift app definitely had more access than it truly needed, right? So, for example, the SQL queries that could pull like all these data sets. So maybe have a way to don't actually give the access only when it truly needs it in a least privileged fashion. Could have been another one, and maybe some sort of an automatic shrinking of the OAuth scopes, as and when needed. That could have been an option in hindsight. Then continuous, I mean, of course, we do this, these access reviews and access certification in in a cadence, monthly, quarterly, yearly, etc. But having some sort of a continuous access reviews in a more like an ITDR fashion or an identity security posture management fashion, it was one of those things where it seems like it was a set and forgotten token that was probably valid for quite some time, even after maybe it happened before the Drift was acquired or right when it happened. So maybe have a way to have this more continuous. So one of the things that we call is continuous access reviews, CAR, as opposed to regular access reviews. So maybe have a way to have this continuous access reviews or have some sort of a way to review them on a more continuous basis. That could have probably prompted people to know that, hey, there's something that is there which needs to be looked at. The other part is kind of like to me it's kind of been a table stakes. In hindsight, it's it's kind of a little funny and sad. The tokens being stored inside the system, that was a complete no-no, because that should have been, not, but if you look at it, you could have probably done a short-lived tokens and have automatic rotation. So sort of like a just-in-time, rotation of the tokens. That could have been another thing that we could have actually done there. And the last piece is, having some sort of an identity risk analytics. I think no one seemed to have noticed these unusual queries that happen, right? Basically, the behavioral, this could have been easily identified by having some sort of an identity risk analytics that is being in place, where when you're running a risk engine, you could have identified, hey, what are all these are unusual queries. There's some data exploitation happening, and it could have probably been stopped. It could have been a suspicious behavior, so it could have been stopped in real time. So in summary, it maybe a better IGA may or may not have stopped the attack, but it would have at least reduced the exposure by limiting things to be least privileged, via the scopes, or forcing some sort of expiration, rotation, making things the integration visible in reviews. That way, you could have identified these are the critical things that are there. Or
Yeah, great, Subbu. So what we will
lastly,
do is, Subbu, sorry, I'm cutting you short in between because we're
uh,
running out of time. What I'll do
uh,
is I wanted to give some time to everyone
uh,
to ask questions. So everyone, just raise your hand if you wanted to ask question. And Rohit has the magic key. He's the admin of this, so he'll kind of bring you on, and he will get you, he'll get you the access to ask questions. So I can see Abhishek Tiwari
Hey,
asking some. Abhishek, over to you. You may, you
hey,
know.
thanks. First
I'll
of
be
all,
seeing that.
thank you so much, Praveen and Subbu, for taking out time. The question I have is that typically, whatever I've heard so far is something which happens with any kind of account. It doesn't necessarily have to be an AI application or AI account. So the question I have is that what are the uniqueness which are related to AI in this case study that we are talking about, other than the fact that Praveen mentioned that there is an urgency seen in organizations to be AI ready. Other than that, what are the AI nuances compared to a normal identity based attack? That's what I'm interested to know.
Yeah, good question, Abhishek. So the company is not releasing, they're still investigating. Whatever information they have released, you can see the screen here is this, that it was, data was exfiltrated through, the tokens were taken out through the drift integration, right? And even, not only that, even data, right? SaaS cloud through the drift integrations. That kind of a statement making it clear that whatever is happening is going through the chatbot, right? That's maybe one of the way to pull the information. And this is, this is a very common problem nowadays. It's something called prompt injection attacks. Very easy to get in. You can, because all these chatbots are connected on the back end with the Salesforce or some, some sense customer data or some financial data or whatever, right? Support center. So it's very easy to, it's because natural language queries, you can, always fool around and get into the system and pull the information. So we have a really something called prompt injection attack solution there, to be able to handle all sorts of queries. It could be, so that's, I think that's one possibility, right? Based on the statement the company has made. And that is very common problem also in AI chatbot. Second is that data can be exfiltrated. So people are deploying DLP solution on those chatbots. So data cannot be sent out if it's got PHI or PCI information, right? So that if they have any of those, guardrails in place, there's something concept of guardrails now in all the AI solutions, some system default guardrails. You can also have your, more stringent customer specific guardrails it can be applied to your chatbots or any AI system, even AI agents, right? AI agents will also come, has to be monitored for all these vulnerabilities.
if I
Thank you.
may add, right, I think again, while this wasn't fully AI driven operation, right? The attackers, I mean, again, it's still investigating. It happened. Attackers likely used or could have used AI at several points, right, to make the intrusion faster, more scalable. So the way I kind of actually look at this, okay, what are the learnings we can get, right? If let's say this attack was fully actually done by AI, it could have accelerated a lot of things. You could have basically done the secrets, pulling much faster, the query generation in an accelerated fashion. You could have basically done they could have basically pretty much actually gotten a lot more information, much faster. The attack surface would have been even more faster. So the way I look at it is, the real risk, in my view, is what comes next. Right? Because if this attack was, let's say, the next one, people are going to see this and they're going to see this as an opportunity, and they're going to basically use AI to do things. They could have actually used autonomous agents, because they could have done like Pravin said, data exfiltration, when they could have kind of actually done a lot more cover up loops without any human oversight. So the way I look at it is, instead of saying, hey, what is right now, but if this was basically fully done completely by AI, the risk could be a full blown a supply chain identity attack. So that's I would say, you don't want to wait till the attack happens, but learn from that. That way, how do we actually make it ready for the future?
Thanks, Subbu. I've got other people who asking the question. So, Ketan, do you want to pull up your question?
Good morning, folks. Thank you so much for this great session. I learned a lot. I was having one question to our experts here. I know we heard about short-lived tokens, refresh it, and I'm kind of saying, hey, if we say refresh it like maybe every month or every week or like even every day, there's still that time gap where a breach can happen, right? So I know I heard you mention something like a JIT. Is that, do we have good solutions there that we can make it like a one-time use, or you give the privileges just when it's needed and scoped privileges? What solution are there that bring those capabilities? That is my question to the experts. And I believe in sharing. If the group allows, I will take 1 minute to share my learnings on 3 points, but up to the group. So I'll see what solution our experts are willing to share in terms of the OAuth tokens.
Yeah, can I take that?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Subbu.
sure, Subbu. Please, please.
Okay. If you are, I mean, great point. If you were to take, let's say, some sort of a, one-time JIT, or, in other words, an ephemeral token, right? The way some of the companies are starting to do this is purpose-based token based on, per operation, or capability-based tokens. So, for example, hey, I want to read these things right now, and just that token is only used for that, and it kind of actually dies off, and you have to basically have another step of authentication to do the next next kind of action. So the way the one time, where the JIT could have actually helped here, or could potentially be used here, and some companies are doing this right now, is sort of single use. There's every one API call for one bulk job, one, right? Of course, ultra short lived, like basically no refresh. That's another piece. On the flip side, right, just like a token that is basically not short use or a single use, that alone cannot just solve the problem. It has to be a least privilege. It has to be a minimal scope. It has to be a narrowly scoped token. So that's what I would say. Are the things that and there are companies which more and more companies are basically starting to use the JIT in this fashion now.
Good. Thank you.
Do you want to share your learnings? You were talking about,
Well, I will be very brief. Actually, I am a student here, but I'll just share. Basically, what I saw was all the 3 parties failed. The failure, of course, on Salesloft was they got their ID compromised, so somebody got into their GitHub, and worse, they kept the insecure storage of everybody's tokens. So that was a failure on Salesloft. There is a big failure on Salesforce that nobody's talking about. These fellows don't give the logs for free. You have to pay for the logs. So that is the reason nobody even knew what the hell is happening in their Salesforce instance. And this Salesforce instance is run by the software teams, and cyber teams have no clue about what the software fellows are doing in Salesforce. I wrote one post on LinkedIn about it, that there is a responsibility gap. And The last is on the customer side, like all the people you have listed here, Zscaler, farmers, and all that. They did not leverage the native security capabilities of SaaS. Means in Salesforce, they should have had network restrictions saying, if I'm connecting to Salesloft, Salesloft gave their IPs and we are supposed to lock it down to just those IPs. But none of these security companies did that. And hence, people, the bad actors came in from Tor or wherever, like they came all over the world, helped themselves to the data. So this is what I can share with the group. And I'll see if anyone has any comments or wants to
I
add
think
to that.
Jason, one comment on that.
hackers were in AWS account, right? So they were able to use that IP address also, right, to pull the information. IP address may not have solved the problem. And also talking about Salesforce, the one more issue is that they sell something called encryption for all these customers like insurance company and all the large customers. They also charge 20% extra for the encryption. But all those storage level encryptions are useless if some user hacker is coming as they authenticated with authenticated token, right? So the encryption also failed, even though customer paid a lot more money for the encryption piece. It's sort of useless encryption sitting there in the storage level when the application is pulling all the information in clear text. And also those support tickets, cases, they did not allow, they did not have provision for encrypting those fields coming from customer side. The
Subbu, you
Salesforce,
wanted to add
the
something?
Salesforce had a lot of, can take a lot of beating here as well. Not only
Yeah,
Salesforce.
I want to add one thing, right? Tying back to actually the thing around how the cost of actually logs, etc., because of that. The other thing I'd say is, and this is not just a problem with Salesforce. In Salesforce, like they're actually pretty good about it, but there are a few others or many other apps, and there's a lesson for many other apps. Applications do not allow a fine-grained scoping. So you can either access. There's no fine-grained scoping of, hey, I can only access this versus that through APIs. So this is probably a lesson for a lot of other applications. In fact, customers to probably push other SaaS providers to give sort of ability to do fine-grained scoping. Because when you do fine-grained scoping, in this case, it was Salesforce. Tomorrow, it could be something else. If you don't give fine-grained scoping, even a lot of things were done in terms of the scopes, everything least privilege. You can't do least privilege because you got to live with what the applications actually do. So that is one thing I would say that is tying back to. And the last piece around what both the guys said is customers also should have been they could have been even more actually proactive too. And of course they found it, but a continuous review was essential. But again, the least privileged scoping has to be the possibility to be able to fine-grain scope to extract data has to be kind of provided in many applications, which today it's not. So to me, this is again a challenge that that could potentially happen to other apps as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Subbu. Ganesh, I can see your hands raised. Do you want to
Yeah,
kind of question?
yeah. Thank you, first of all, for organizing this. Appreciate that. So my question is that it's not a question, but at the same time, a statement where these threat actors got into Salesloft through this GitHub and creating the guest user account, right? And sometime in May, June, July. So they were there. Threat actors were in Salesloft environment almost 3 months, right?
Mhm.
And then the question is that one of the mantra we talk about in security is that early detection and response, right? So it's clear that Salesloft did not identify these threat actors are sitting in their network and environment almost 3 months. The question is that, right? I mean, I know that we all focus on this early detection and response. What could have been done, right? I think there are many ways, they could have identified, the threat actor sitting in their network. But I don't, certainly there is nothing done there. Is any suggestions from you guys, what could have been done, to detect this early enough so that all these hundreds of companies who have been impacted now, of course, those customers could have been, Palo Alto and Zscaler and Alliance Farmers. They could have done their own certain due diligence identifying this, but as Salesloft, they could have done a better job in early detection, which was not the
I can,
case. Yeah.
I can take that, a first stab at it, right?
Yeah.
I think there's really blind spots in the GitHub monitoring, right? Because, I think more proactive monitoring or, again, I don't know how much of logs were actually, being centrally ingested into a SIM, what kind of alerting rules were being set up, right? Because I think it comes back to the blind spots in the GitHub monitoring, which could have, been actually a thing that they could have solved, right? The second thing is, is sort of proper, secret scanning and proper rotation discipline. Again, you're there for months, those things could have actually, solved, right? And then it comes back to, I mean, drifts, backend that they had, like basically the AWS backend and how they harvested the OR tokens. Again, the signs of the API calls, the export patterns, or some sort of odd, exfiltration, they were not flagged. So to me, it's a weak identity telemetry that is there. So I think the monitoring would have been the biggest, blind spot. So, see, they could have actually had better monitoring and better identity access telemetry. In the last one, Salesforce could have also done better anomaly detection. But in the beginning itself, we were talk about it. I would say the monitoring in the GitHub side and the backend telemetry, the drift side was probably the biggest, in my view.
Pravin, do you want to add something on
Yeah, I
this?
think that's exactly, I think it's a very good question, because this is what we should be thinking about, how you can be proactive about it, right? And not reactive about it. So, proactiveness wise, yes, secret posture management around your GitHub would have helped you. We do have security monitoring for your GitHub for all the AI applications, and all same thing we do for also for your AWS environment, right? So you can go and look for those security issues like this, what token sitting there, not encrypted, can be easily detected and responded well, much ahead of anything bad happens.
I
So,
agree. Thank you. Thank you for the response. I agree that there could have been a better monitoring and detection in place. Thank you.
and security posture monitoring.
Yeah.
Great. So, thank you everyone. Are there any more questions? I'll wait for 10 seconds.
No, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Great conversation. I think all of us learned a lot. I have taken a lot of things with me. And it was especially to see that the companies who actually tell us how to run security were part of this breach. So that was amazing. But overall, great conversation. We will send you the video of this soon on the group. As well as wanted to tell you that on 19th of September, which is a week from now, we have a big webinar happening on cybersecurity threats in AI uncertainty era, moderated by Anurana Saluja, CISO of Sutherland, and then we'll have Prakash Kalia, Head of Security in Phase, and Nalin Narayanam, CIO of Adapt Health, talking about it along with Dennis Joshua, who is a VP in Cyber Defense in Inspira. So do register for this. We will put it on the group soon. This requires registration. We'll put it on the group, and you may want to register for this next webinar coming up next week. We try to do at least one webinar in a month. Sometimes it happens too if some kind of this breaches happen. But our aim is to get everybody learn from each other. Uh, Thank you
There's a good
again.
question from Ganesh, looks like.
I
Sorry,
think
please.
he asked a question. He
Yeah,
can
that's the question. Thank you.
mislowering the hands. It's good. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Praveen, and thank you, Subbu, and thank you everyone for attending this. Have a great rest of your day. Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.